all the artists on the Alison Wonderland tour, like we stayed in the same hotels, like we hung out in between shows. Oh, Japan was the sickest. I mean, both trips were just going with someone who basically like has the keys to the city, essentially. Like going with someone like Skrillex is completely different because you experience so much more, like with the OWSLA team.
Hi, so today I'm here with Quinn, Quasar Media. So how did you come up with Quasar Media?
So a quasar is like the most distant celestial body that we know of. Basically, it's like where stars are formed. It's like think of it as like a giant ball of gas that's just burning off in the distance. And so I've always been like fascinated by like outer space and sci-fi and all that. So I figured like it's a cool concept. Like I've always been super into that.
Yeah.
And then it also starts with a Q, which like my name Quinn starts with a Q. So I guess it just kind of fit. Like I got really into looking up about quasars and it stuck.
Why did you not want to go by your original name? I feel like most photographers go by original name.
A lot of people do. I mean, not that I don't like my name, it's just, I don't know, like I didn't ever want my photography or my brand or whatever be about like my own image. Like I didn't want to have my face or my name all over anything, so it's kind of just like I've always been into nicknames too, especially with like, you know, street art. You like come up with a nickname or like a tag that you use.
So you were actually born in Arizona, or?
Right, yeah, so I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, a little town called Ahwatukee.
Yeah.
It's like a suburb of Phoenix.
Oh, were your parents from there as well?
My mom was born and raised in Phoenix, and then my dad's actually from Florida.
Oh.
Like Central Florida, Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they into like art as well, or?
No, so I actually come from like a family of athletes. Like
What?
my brothers and I all played sports growing up. Well, one of my brothers plays professional baseball, and then my youngest brother continues to play baseball in high school. And then both my parents were athletes. Like my mom ran track. She was a heptathlete back when they did that.
Crazy.
And she was a volleyball player, and then my dad played pro baseball too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Did you have that kind of like, did they want you to be an athlete as well then?
I think so, yeah. But I mean, they're fully supportive of what I'm doing now, which is great. I mean, like I enjoyed playing sports, but it just wasn't really my passion, so I decided to pursue other things.
What was the kind of scene like back then in Phoenix?
In Phoenix? I mean, back when I was living there, it like, I don't know, it's not that big. It's nothing like it is here, obviously. Like, I've gone back and seen sort of what it's like now, and it's a bit different. Like, there's a much richer music scene there, I think, now, especially like in hip-hop.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was growing up there, it wasn't much in terms of like the music scene. Like, I would go to shows when I could, but, you know, everyone comes to perform in LA, and not everyone necessarily stops in Arizona.
Yeah. Were your friends around you like into art as well, or where did you even get that initially?
Yeah, I guess I was pretty good about like being able to get along with people from different backgrounds and different groups. Like I hung out with a lot of athletes too, but definitely my close friends were very much creative and like they're musical or, you know, visual artists.
Were there
some diverse group of people?
Were there some artists back then that you were interested in, like non-music related, just for the like videos or photography?
Good question. I mean, I was always into movies growing up.
Yeah.
But I was definitely very much into like street art in middle school and high school. So like tagging and sticker art and all that.
So you did all that too?
Yeah, here and there, like a little bit. I was never super hardcore about it, but yeah, me and a few of my friends were pretty into it at one point.
Yeah, but so your parents, they're not even into art then? Like, it was just kind of your own hobby then. Did they understand you, or like how much you had love for art? Yeah,
I think so. It's not the world that they come from, so I feel like sometimes it's hard for them to fully understand like what I'm doing out here, but they're totally supportive and they get it. Like, they understand I have to, you know, chase what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough, like, moving out here and not really knowing what the hell I'm doing, just kind of figuring it out as I go. You know, I didn't have that, like, someone in my family to really learn from in terms of art. But I mean, they both love music. Like, we love music and movies.
So in high school, are your favorite subjects like art related or?
Yeah, I was big into creative writing. That's huge. I never actually like took a photo class until college, which is weird. Like, I kind of regret not ever taking photo in high school. But yeah, I took like pottery because it was kind of a joke class and just could hang out with my friends.
Were you always interested in more like electronic music or?
Well, hip hop has always been like my first love, really. But I got into electronic music, I think it was my freshman year of high school. Like, I started listening to Justice and Bonobo and got really into dubstep. Like, that was what really, you know, set it off when that whole wave happened in the U.S. So I think that was a pretty pivotal moment for like me artistically. Just like, cause you know, I guess I don't know what it was like in Hong Kong, but in the U.S. it's like when you're a kid, it's like, oh, techno is weird. Like, everything's techno. You know, it's not. It's not like electronic music with house and, you know, different genres. Everyone's just like, oh, techno. It's all one thing. But then you come to find out that it's this rich, vast landscape of music. So that was pretty huge.
What age did you get your first camera?
I was a sophomore in high school, I think, or maybe it was my freshman year. I was like 15 or 16, maybe. Yeah. And I had no idea how to use it. I was just
like, what like even made you want to get
full
one?
Auto. I don't know.
From like the, I guess the graffiti side to like the photography side.
Yeah. Well, I was into like skateboarding and like longboarding. So.
Is that from how it started? The skateboarding photography was kind of interesting, or?
I think that definitely had something to do with like watching skate videos or like watching just movies in general, and also the physical aspect of it. Like, I was really fascinated by the idea of like being able to capture something like in the physical world and like reproduce it. Same with music, like recording sound to me is really interesting. But I don't know what was the catalyst. I kind of just one day decided I wanted a camera, and then I got one, and it kind of took off from there. But for the first couple of years, I didn't like know how to use it really. I was just shooting things that I thought looked cool.
Do you remember what camera it was?
And yeah, it was a Nikon D3000, like super early basic DSLR. I got it for Christmas one year and was super stoked, but again had no idea how to use it. So I started like, you know, using the slow shutter and taking photos of lights and like kind of light painting. And I didn't know how to reproduce what I was doing. I just thought it looked cool. So. Did
you have like a photographer back then you looked up to?
Not really. I had a friend who was pretty into photography, just like a super talented visual artist. My boy Chet. Chet, if you're watching this, shout out Chet. Yeah, he and I would like skate around, and he would always be taking photos and painting, and I really looked up to him. He's like an older brother figure almost. But yeah, he's like the first person I really knew who was a photographer or like had a camera.
How about like artists online though? Like, did you look up other photographers online back then?
Not that I can think of. No. I mean, like, I didn't really know photographers or how to access their work until like I got to college and started learning and like studying them. You know. Yeah. You have like Richard Avedon or like these famous photographers that you look up to, but. No, when I was young and like first starting out, I didn't really have anyone that I looked to. Yeah. In terms of like famous people.
And then you went to what, northern Arizona?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Was it studying like electronic? Was it?
Electronic media and film. Yeah. So it's a smaller school in Flagstaff, Arizona. So I mean, you have like the two main schools, ASU and U of A. I chose to go to the smaller school up in like a little mountain town. Not what you would think is like characteristic of Arizona. It's like snows 6 months out of the year, super gorgeous. But yeah, the film program there, it was like super radio based. Like it was very journalistic. There wasn't a lot of creativity involved. So I ended up transferring actually out to Santa Monica College here in LA after like 2 years at NAU. and joined the film program there.
Yeah. How did you realize that you wanted to kind of like have your whole career in like film and video? Like what did you love so much about it initially?
Oh man, I think just like as a kid I was always very imaginative. Like I would always be drawing. You can ask my parents. Everywhere I went I had to have either a book or like a notepad to draw on. Like one of my favorite stories that my dad loves to tell is one time he was taking me to baseball practice and I forgot my baseball gear but had like a book with me that I was reading.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just a testament to sort of like I was always focused on creating things, but I never really considered it like a practical career choice,
yeah.
You know? Because that's not like, I guess growing up they tell you, you know, go to school, go to college, get a good job, settle down. You know, it's like the typical American timeline, I guess.
Where do you think you got your confidence from that you could pursue it full time?
I think just like part of it is not really knowing what you're doing. Like for me at least, I was like, I think this looks cool, so I just keep experimenting and practicing and figuring out what works, and then hope other people like it, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of, it's like a level, I don't know, like as an artist you're definitely insecure, but I think you just have to keep doing it until you're comfortable with what you're doing.
Yeah. Why do you decide to study it in college compared to like just going out and doing it full time?
So I started college as a journalism and poli-sci major.
Oh.
And after one semester I was painfully bored with it, didn't like it, switched my major for the next year, and then realized that the film program there wasn't what I was hoping it would be, so that's when I transferred. But I think I don't know, I guess it was always just this idea that you have to go to college to get a good job, and then
you kind of realized that you didn't even or did you want to work for a company and do creative stuff?
I mean, yeah, I mean, the goal has always been to do something creative for a career, like, but I don't know, I guess not having a background in it or not having like a family member or someone close to me who really knows how the entertainment industry works, it's a lot of like doing your own research and figuring it out and asking questions from your peers.
Yeah.
So there was no like definitive moment where I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. I always kind of like knew I wanted to do it. I just didn't know how to really get to that point.
Do you think
I'm still figuring it out, you know?
Learn a lot from college? Like, do you think you can get to where you are now, like without that, or?
That's the thing. I think for everyone it's different. Me, like, I enjoy learning and I enjoyed school to a degree, but a lot of it's busy work and like, especially in college, you get to a certain point where it's like you have to go do what you're learning about, especially in like film production or photography. It's like you get great connections from school, you know, you have a piece of paper that says you finished something, if you finish. I didn't finish. But yeah, I think there's something to be said for people who can just like, especially now with technology, you can just sit on the computer and learn everything you would learn in a classroom and then go do it, as opposed to paying thousands and thousands of dollars to learn in like a formal environment.
Oh, so you quit school and then what did you do?
So I like, the plan was to finish school. I applied to transfer. I like finished at SMC, got my associates, and then I got accepted into the film program at CSUN, Cal State Northridge.
Oh, okay.
But that same week I got offered a job on a TV show as like a production assistant. But
was
it's
it
like
the
a full-time
Lionsgate?
thing. Yeah. So I worked on a show called Dear White People. It was like on Netflix.
How did you get that? Was that through your school or?
No. So that was actually through a family friend who we had a mutual friend through like sports, actually through baseball, or like my brother played baseball with her son. She introduced us to one of the execs on the show, and then she's like, you know, I can't give you a job, but I can get you an interview. And so I got the interview and they ended up offering me the job.
Wow. So. How much like of a portfolio did you already have back then?
In the film world, not as much. I mean, I'd mainly just worked on student projects, but at that point I was already like shooting, you know, I was doing photography professionally for a while, like a couple years.
Yeah.
But like I wasn't a photographer on that production. I was like a production assistant.
Yeah.
So a little different.
Yeah. What did you do after that?
After that, I just continued to, you know, do photography.
Wait, what year was it that you did that?
That was last year.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Everything was okay.
Yeah.
It's so fast. Okay.
So yeah, like I had been in school for a while. Wait, was it last year or the year before?
Well,
it was 2016. Yeah, not last year. I keep saying last year like it's still 2017.
Similar. At this rate.
it was summer of 2016 I got that job. And it was crazy because like the day that we wrapped production was election night. So like everyone went and voted that morning and then had our last day of work.
Oh.
And we were leaving like as the results were coming in. So it was a really heavy environment. But
wow.
Yeah, so I guess that was like a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
And then I've just been doing freelance full time since.
How were you able to even transition to freelance? I mean, it's kind of difficult initially.
Yeah, it's super tough. I think just like having multiple hustles, I guess. Like I was doing the photography thing full time, but also working on television sets and like commercials and things like that as a production assistant.
Oh, so then like
so
through like the Lionsgate, you got other like,
jobs. Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Sense.
Yeah, I got some connections through that.
Yeah.
Worked with some great people. And I've just been able to continue to work off that.
Yeah.
For the most part.
How did you go from that to meeting more music people?
I mean, it's been concurrent for the most part. Like I've been doing both of them simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
Like I've been like taking photos in music for 3 years now almost. Yeah,
oh,
like
so when you're still in school, you're doing like festivals and events already.
Right. Yeah. Which was tough, like juggling the two. So I don't know. I think I made the right choice, and I don't know if I quit school. Maybe I'll go back if I ever need to, but I think I'm good on school for now.
How are you even able to like get into the music? I mean, a lot of people watching this kind of curious about like how they could get their foot in.
I mean, honestly, the best advice I think I can give is just don't let anyone tell you can't do something. Like for me, the way I started was I had a friend who was throwing parties with Brownies and Lemonade. So I just started showing up to their events with my camera, taking photos, sending them the photos and be like, yo, check it out. This is what I can do. And they ended up like asking me to come back, and eventually they hired me, you know, to shoot for them, started paying me.
When was it that they started, I guess, like working with them formally?
That was like 2.5 years ago that I started shooting for them.
Okay.
I think.
Wow.
I get my years mixed up. I think it's like sometime late 2015 maybe.
Yeah.
Or like summer 2015.
So you've really seen their growth. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's been fascinating
like
to
what,
watch.
2015?
Yeah, like early 2015.
Damn.
Yeah. and even in 2015 they had been doing it for like a couple of years. So it's just a testament to their relentlessness. Like they just have been able to see so much success from like just not giving up. Yeah. Super inspiring.
And then now you're able to travel with them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Was Australia the first one, or did you have stuff before?
I mean, we traveled a bunch before in the continental U.S., but like that was our first international sort of mini tour.
Did you actually tour with some artists before?
I had been on like short runs with other art. Like I went on a little run with Two Tone Disco.
Yeah.
Nothing big, really. I think that's the only time actually. All my traveling has been with Brownies and Lemonade for the most part.
What is the, I guess, biggest difference between like just shooting shows and like going like on tour? Where there's something like surprising?
Touring is great because you get to really experience a whole new landscape. Like in Australia, and Japan especially, like there's so much culture shock when you go, and it's like, you know, you're going there to work, but you're also learning about someone else's culture and like getting to spend more one-on-one time with artists that you normally wouldn't get to spend time with here in LA. Like all the artists on the Alison Wonderland tour, like we stayed in the same hotels, like we hung out in between shows. Like, it's a completely different experience in that regard. Like, here I feel like everyone's so busy and always doing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you wouldn't run into someone like, I don't know, like Taco from Odd Future just randomly, but we spent a bunch of time with him in Australia, so it's stuff like that I think is really cool. It's like a specific experience.
Yeah. And then about the Japan,
Japan was the sickest. I mean, both trips were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was my second time going to Japan, and it's cool. Going to Japan is just fascinating the first time you go, if you're from here. But going with someone who basically, like, has the keys to the city, essentially, like, going with someone like Skrillex is completely different because you experience so much more, like, with the OWSLA team.
Damn, what was that like?
It's tough to, I don't know. I'm still kind of just in shock that everything happened.
Yeah.
It was really eye-opening. Well, first of all, he's just like an amazing like that whole team is just an awesome group of people. The OWSLA peeps. But like we went to a Shinto shrine, or like and we also went to a Buddhist temple. Like we went to both in the same day, and that whole day was probably the highlight of the trip for me, just because it's so vastly different from what you experience here on like a day-to-day basis. It wasn't like we went before a show and I don't know, you just feel this energy that's way different when you go to like a sacred site in another country. And it's like, there's the language barrier, there's that you think about. It's like, I don't know. it trips me out thinking about it. Like, it was a really, really beautiful trip.
Yeah. What goals do you have, I guess, for the next, 5 years?
Next 5 years?
Or longer, up to you.
Longer? I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing this year.
Okay, this year then.
Well, this year I'm definitely, focusing on, just being more focused and disciplined in general. Like, I'm focusing on my health a lot more,
Oh, really?
Trying to eat better. Well, yeah, I've always, tried to be healthy, you know?
Yeah.
But now I'm working on, my sleep schedule and, having a meal routine. So I'm, waking up earlier, stretching, just trying to take care of, my body. Because, when you're traveling especially, it wears you down.
Or even nightlife photography in Hong Kong used to do that, 1 to 3 a.m. Ugh.
You did that in Hong Kong?
Yeah, and then I would just, take, naps before at, 11, and it's just, ugh. I don't know. And then my parents hated all the smoking.
Yeah, I bet. And it's just you're a zombie during the day and then you work all night. It's it's tough.
Yeah.
So just trying to be more health conscious, I think.
Mhm. How about for your photography or video?
This year I actually wrote down a bunch of goals. I don't typically do that. I just kind of have them in the back of my head. But I want to shoot more music videos this year. I want to do some more fashion work, work on some lookbooks. What else? I have a couple projects in the works that I would like to finish this year.
Yeah.
There's a short film I've been working on for a while that, want to finish that for sure. Yeah, we've shot it all. It's in post-production, but it's been a process. We're working on the score now. So
nice. So did you start photography and video at the same time, or did you do photography or video first?
Kind of at the same time. I feel like photography's always come easier. Especially with video production or filmmaking. It requires more collaboration. So it's I can take my camera and take photos anywhere, or I can shoot video anywhere too. But working on something like a professional music video typically requires more than just one person and one camera.
Yeah. Actually, what I realize more and more is that people kind of now require photographers to do video stuff.
Right.
As I never really had a background video
Yeah.
Because I just did photography, and before that it's kind of separate. You hire a videographer, but now it's people wait, what? You don't do video?
Both. Yeah.
But I guess
and they're
you kind
doing
of
it for cheaper, and it's like, damn it.
But I guess you already knew both, so that wasn't really an obstacle for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess, well, for music, I guess I started doing photography first, professionally. Like, people would hire me for photography first, and then just been working on building my video skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far?
Challenges so far? Well, I still really, like, I'm always working on learning more about the business side of photography, because especially as artists, I feel like we struggle more with money in some instances. Like, I mean, I guess that's a generalization, but for me personally, like, I hate dealing with the money aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I would much rather just focus on the art. But it's like something you have to do if you're working as a freelancer and you're managing yourself and, you know, booking your own gigs. It's like you have to learn about the music industry and how, like, you know, how to negotiate, things like that. Like, I hate negotiating.
Yeah.
But it
yeah,
comes with
that's
the
so true.
territory.
Like, there's so few, like, photography agencies. The only ones really would be, like, huge fashion people who shoot the biggest campaigns.
Right.
But then even, like, a musician, even if you're, like, somewhat small, you already have a manager.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Right? Yeah, we need a union, too. We need, like, a photo union.
Yeah. And also, I think, well, I saw on Twitter just, like, being more open with, like, rates and everything.
Right, totally.
Yeah, I wonder
maybe not
why.
a union, maybe just a coalition.
Yeah.
All my photo video peeps out there, we've been talking about it forever. Let's just do it, because everyone will benefit from it. Yeah, it's cool though. I have, like, you know, in LA, photography, I'm sure you've experienced it too, like, it's very competitive, but only because everyone is so great at what they do, like, super talented. But, like, I'm friends with a bunch of other photographers and videographers, so it's great to, like, you know, bounce ideas off people and be like, hey, like, have you experienced this before? Like, I was just talking to a photographer friend the other day. I had, like, a question about contracts or something. So it's nice that everyone is super supportive of one another in this community, I think, or that's been my experience at least.
How do you think you've grown as a person since when you started?
Ooh. I've definitely been, that's a really great question. I think I've been able to rely on myself more. Like, more, I've become more independent over time and just more assertive, I think. Like, when you're first starting out, especially, it's tough. Like, going back to negotiating or just like dealing with people who know more about sort of the business than you do. So I've learned more about the business and been able to, like, assert myself more. Yeah. I think is a big one, and it's tough for, like, young artists especially, you know.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
What do I want to be remembered for? I want to be remembered for making people smile, whether it's and that's, like, the corniest, most cookie cutter answer, but in all honesty, like, photography for me, or art or anything, it's just like, I love to make it for myself, but sharing a connection with someone is so much more rewarding, I think, because it's tough, like, it's tough living out here in LA, you know, trying to do whatever it is you do, and, like, sometimes it's easy to get sucked into that mindset of, like, oh, I don't have anyone to rely on, or, like, I'm super lonely. I don't know, whether it's through my photography or just being, like, a good friend to someone when they need it, just, like, I want to be able to make people feel more whole, because that's what I value, is, like, when someone can do that for me too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I love
just
that.
being a good person. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Bye, guys.